but his coworker Mark insisted. "Come on, man. You've been single too long. Live a little," and after weeks of pressure, Liam finally agreed. It wasn't until earlier that afternoon that Mark had said, laughing under his breath, "Oh, and don't worry, she's, fun. You'll see." Liam didn't think much of it at the time. He was too distracted by the thought of leaving work early to make it on time, rushing home to drop off his 5-year-old daughter, Emma, with his neighbor, Mrs. Hale. Emma didn't want him to go at first. She'd tugged on his pant leg, eyes wide, curls bouncing around her face. "Daddy, why are you dressing fancy? Are you going somewhere far? Are you meeting a princess?" He had crouched down and kissed her forehead. "No, my love, not a princess. Just meeting a new friend." "You don't need new friends," she'd said seriously. "You have me." He had laughed softly. "That's true, but even superheroes need other superheroes." Now, standing outside the restaurant, he felt the weight of her words. He didn't need anybody else. But maybe, after everything he'd gone through, he deserved someone who could bring warmth back into his life. Someone patient, someone kind. With a final deep breath, he walked inside. The restaurant was buzzing with soft music and gentle laughter. The chandelier above scattered warm light across tables, dressed in white cloth and golden cutlery. A host approached him with a smile that seemed rehearsed. "Good evening, sir. Do you have a reservation?" "Yes," Liam said. "Table for 2, under Turner." The host scanned the list, nodded, and gestured toward the right side of the restaurant. "This way." Liam followed him, palms growing sweatier with each step. He wondered what she would look like, whether she'd smile when he approached, whether they would sit in awkward silence or find something to laugh about. As he neared the table assigned to him, he stopped. A girl was already seated there, not just seated. She was trying hard to make herself small, folding her hands in her lap, looking around nervously. Long, curly brown hair fell over her shoulders. Her dress was black, simple but elegant, though it strained around her waist and arms. She was larger, much larger, than anyone he'd ever dated before. But what caught his attention wasn't her size, it was her eyes. She looked terrified. Her fingers fidgeted with the edge of the tablecloth, and she kept glancing toward the entrance as if she expected the worst. The host pulled out the chair across from her. "Your party has arrived." She looked up. Their eyes met. For a split second, Liam saw something flicker across her face, fear, embarrassment, maybe even dread. He offered her a gentle smile as he sat. "Hi, I'm Liam." She swallowed, her voice small. "Hi, I'm Grace." The way she said it made him think she wasn't used to saying her name confidently, as if she expected judgment every time she introduced herself. Awkward silence stretched between them. Liam cleared his throat. "So, Mark told me you work in publishing?" Grace blinked rapidly. "Publishing? Oh, no, I don't. I think there's been a mistake." He frowned. "He said you two knew each other?" The faintest pain crossed her face, but she forced a smile. "Not exactly." Something felt off. The way she avoided looking directly at him, the way her shoulders were drawn tight, the way she seemed ready to run. This wasn't a normal blind date. Before he could get another word out, he heard laughter behind him. Loud. Mocking. Mark's voice. Liam stiffened. He turned his head slightly without fully turning around, and there they were. Mark and 2 other co-workers from the warehouse, hiding behind a booth divider. Their phones were out, recording him, recording her. Everything inside Liam went cold. He looked back at Grace. Her cheeks were already flushed, not from shyness but humiliation. Her eyes glistened with tears she was trying desperately to blink away. And that was when it hit him. They hadn't set him up on a blind date. They'd set him up for a joke. They brought Grace here, to embarrass him, to laugh at him, to record his reaction when he realized she wasn't the model type they assumed he wanted. And she knew exactly what this was. The fork in her hand shook slightly. She tried to steady it but failed. Then she whispered, so softly he almost didn't hear it. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to come. They said you wouldn't mind, that you were nice." Her voice cracked. "They said you wouldn't laugh." His chest tightened, painfully. He wasn't angry at her, not at all. He was angry at them, at himself for not seeing through their cruelty, at the way she sat there trying to shrink into the chair, trying to disappear. He spoke gently. Grace, look at me, she hesitated. Then she looked up. And what Liam said next wasn't rehearsed, wasn't forced, and wasn't meant to impress anyone. It came from the deepest part of him, the part that knew the sting of being looked down on, judged, underestimated, used for someone else's entertainment. Whatever they said, whatever they planned, "I'm glad I'm here with you," he said softly. Her eyes widened. Liam leaned in, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "And I promise you, I'm not leaving." Behind him, Mark snickered loudly, nudging his friends. But Liam didn't turn. He didn't give them the satisfaction. Instead, he picked up the menu and smiled at Grace. Really smiled, the way he smiled at Emma when she needed comfort. "Tell me what you like to eat," he said warmly. "Tonight is your night." Grace choked on a breath. A tear rolled down her cheek. She wasn't crying because she was sad. She was crying because someone, for once, wasn't treating her like a punchline. And that was the moment, right then, that everything quietly, unexpectedly began to change. Grace wiped her cheeks quickly, embarrassed that she'd let a tear escape. She kept her eyes lowered, but Liam could tell she was breathing differently, shallow, shaky, like she wasn't used to kindness, landing at her feet instead of insults. He didn't rush her, didn't push her. He simply waited. Finally, she picked up the menu with trembling fingers. I usually just get pasta, or soup. I don't eat a lot. People think I do, but I don't." Her voice cracked at the last word. Liam felt something twist inside him. Anger at the world, at every stranger who had ever looked at her body before her face. "You order whatever you want," he said gently. "We're here to enjoy the evening. And I mean that." When she finally looked up at him, her eyes weren't fearful anymore, just searching, trying to understand why a man like him, a man she had been told was better than her, was speaking to her with compassion instead of cruelty. A waiter approached. Liam ordered something simple, and Grace chose a creamy Alfredo, her voice barely above a whisper. As soon as the waiter walked away, laughter erupted again from the back booth. Mark and the others weren't even trying to hide it anymore. They were zooming in on their phones, whispering things to each other, probably planning to upload the video later for more humiliation. Grace's shoulders hunched. Liam placed his hand gently on the table, not touching her, just close enough to let her feel the offer of support. "Grace," he said quietly, "do you want to leave? We can go somewhere else. A cafe, a park, anywhere you feel safe." Her lips parted slightly. "You'd leave with me?" He nodded. "Of course, but then they'll laugh more. They'll think you ran away." He smiled slowly, and for the first time his eyes hardened, not at her, but at them. "Let them think whatever they want. I'm not here for them." Grace stared at him, stunned by the simplicity of his words. But before she could respond, Mark stood up from his booth and swaggered toward their table, grinning like he was starring in his own twisted show. "Well, well, Turner," he said loudly, hands resting on the back of a chair. "Having fun with your date?" He dragged out the last word with theatrical smugness. Liam didn't even turn his head. He kept his eyes on Grace as he spoke. Ignore them. But Mark wasn't going to be ignored. "Oh, come on," Mark scoffed, stepping closer. "You should have seen your face when you saw her. Priceless. I mean, we knew you were desperate, but this—" Before he could finish, Liam stood up, slowly, controlled. Grace flinched, afraid he was about to yell or storm away, but when he spoke, his voice was calm. Too calm. "You really think this is funny?" Mark smirked. "Dude, it's a joke. Relax. We're just messing with you." "No," Liam said. "You're messing with her. And you think that's okay?" Mark rolled his eyes. "Jesus, man, it's not that deep. It's not like she's—" Liam stepped closer, cutting him off. His voice dropped to a level only Mark could hear. "If you say one more word about her, one more, you're going to regret it." Mark snorted. "What, you gonna punch me? In front of everyone?" Liam leaned in, his expression deadly calm. "No. I'm going to walk back to that table, sit down with Grace, enjoy my dinner, and show her that she is worth more than every pathetic, insecure joke you've ever made." Mark's smirk faltered. "And when people ask why you're laughing at a woman just trying to have a meal," Liam added, "I'll tell them the truth, that you thought humiliating someone was funny, and we'll see who they judge." A few nearby diners turned to watch. Mark stiffened, suddenly aware that he didn't look like the cool guy he imagined, just a bully caught in the act. He forced a laugh. "Whatever, man, you're too sensitive." Then he turned away, muttering under his breath, joining his friends who were now pretending they hadn't been filming. Liam sat back down. Grace exhaled shakily. "You didn't have to defend me." "Yes," he said softly, "I did." She looked at him long, searchingly. "Why?" "You don't even know me, because no one deserves to be treated like you were tonight." Her lips trembled. Their food arrived, and they began eating quietly. Grace twirled her pasta slowly, as if unsure she was allowed to enjoy it. "You know," Liam said lightly, "my daughter would love this place. She loves anything with lights. She calls them sparkle rooms." Grace's face softened instantly. "You have a daughter?" He smiled. "Yeah, Emma, 5 years old. She's everything." The warmth in his voice when he said her name made Grace smile for the first time since he'd sat down. "That's sweet," she whispered. "She made me braid her hair today." Liam chuckled. "It turned out terrible, but she said it was perfect. Kids are nice like that." Grace's smile widened. "She sounds lovely." "She is." He paused. "I want her to grow up seeing that kindness matters, that people matter." Grace swallowed. Her eyes glimmered again, not with pain, but with something quieter. Hope. They talked more. About books, childhood, food they loved, places they'd never traveled. Grace's laugh came out shy at first, then grew fuller, lighter. Liam listened, asking her things no one had bothered to ask her before, her favorite music, her dreams, what made her happy. No one had ever listened to her like that. By the time they finished eating, Grace looked different, not physically, but in the tenderness around her eyes, the looseness in her shoulders. When they stepped outside, the night air was cool. Streetlights reflected off damp pavement, and a soft breeze carried the scent of jasmine from a nearby garden. They stood facing each other. "Thank you," Grace whispered, "for everything tonight. I know this wasn't supposed to be a real date." "It was real to me," Liam said. She froze. He meant it. She could see that in the sincerity etched across his face. "But," she murmured, "after what happened, you probably just feel bad for me. You're being kind because—" "I'm being kind," he said, "because that's what you deserved from the start." Grace's throat tightened. No one had ever spoken to her like that, not without pity or mockery hidden underneath. She looked down at the sidewalk. "You don't have to see me again, you know. You don't owe me that. I won't be mad if you walk away." Liam stepped closer. "I don't want to walk away." Grace looked up, startled. "I want to see you again," he said gently, "if you'll let me." Her eyes filled instantly. "Why?" Liam's voice softened to a whisper. "Because tonight, you showed me how strong you are. Sitting through all that, knowing what they planned, Grace, that takes courage." A tear slipped down her cheek. He brushed it gently with his thumb. "And because," he continued, "I like you. I genuinely do." Her breath caught. Silence settled between them. Heavy, warm, careful. Grace swallowed. "Okay," she whispered. Then, "Yes, I'd like to see you again." Liam smiled, slow and bright, the kind that reached his eyes. He walked her to her car, waited until she drove safely away, then stood alone under the streetlight, letting the night wash over him. He didn't know what this would become. He didn't know what obstacles were waiting. But he knew one thing. Tonight wasn't a joke. It was the beginning of something he never expected. And deep inside, far away from the laughter that had tried to ruin their night, something had shifted. Quietly, steadily, beautifully.